I say hello, 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 hello. You can't do what I do, that's just something you don't. I make this look easy from the way that I told.
Hey, what's up guys, TechTime here, and this is my 4-month review of the base model iPhone 16. And I feel like I've said this before when I initially reviewed the iPhone 16 Plus, but basically this is the most complete iPhone base model that Apple has ever released in my opinion. So here is exactly why I think that, but also I want to speak on my 4-month experience. So I have been using this phone in and off for the past 4 months. So my current phone is the iPhone 16 Pro Max. That's my daily driver. But I can also give you guys a comparison to why I think why a lot of people should not even consider the 16 Pro Max. I have it for specific reasons. So basically, as far as design goes, the base model of the iPhone 16 shares a lot of similar characteristics. I think the biggest change here is two things. One is the way that they decided to shape up the camera, so it's vertical instead of this horizontal lineup of the camera. In addition to that, the biggest change is the fact that they brought this camera control that is adapted from the 16 Pro and 16 Pro Maxes. Usually Apple, what they do is that they kind of dismiss the base model whenever they introduce a new feature, but they did bring it with the base model. I think they're just really trying to get people to use this new feature. And here's my experience with it on my 16 Pro Max. I found myself not using it as much just because I found it to be a little bit of inconvenience just because of how big the 16 Pro Max is. So the 16, the standard model, made it easier, and I actually found myself using it way more often than I thought I would be using it. So it allows for a lot of different things. I'm going to save that conversation for the camera segment, so just stay with me for a little bit. Now, the biggest thing that I want to speak on is in the display department as well. So this phone, the bezels are noticeably larger than the 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max. It didn't bother me all that much. It's just something it's just something that I wanted to mention. But my problem with the display is not the resolution. It's not the quality, because it is a really good quality display. My biggest problem is that this phone only supports 60 Hertz. So I don't know what Apple's thought process is, but I'll tell you what, that's a little bit embarrassing on Apple's part. So a lot of Android phones that are in the $170 range, like the Moto G 5G, you have the luxury of 90 Hertz. So let's say that Apple does not want to put 120 on their iPhone 16. I think the least they could do is provide us with a 90 Hertz refresh rate. I did notice the difference, so that way I'm 100% honest. My 16 Pro Max has 120 Hertz. The standard 16 has 60 Hertz. That's a little bit disappointing for people who are coming from a higher refresh rate. I don't know what Apple's thinking, but yeah. Other than that, the display is actually really good. So now let's circle back and talk about the camera conversation. So you get a dual sensor here instead of a triple camera setup that's found on the 16 Pro and the Pro Max. And the reason they're stacked this way is for spatial recording. So the main sensor is 48 megapixel, and you also get a 12 megapixel ultra wide. And like I said, the convenience of the camera control is really nice on the base model. You can easily use it with one hand, where you can take pictures, change your exposure, change your tone, and switch between camera angles. I found it to be more convenient and much more useful on the smaller model versus the bigger iPhone models. And obviously the pictures that come out of this phone is really good, from the main sensor to the ultra wide. And I really don't have any problems when it comes to the camera quality. It may not be as good as the 16 Pro and Pro Max in the video department, but as far as the photo department, I found it to be extremely similar. So the performance on this phone is no slouch either. You will get a really nice processor and a lot of RAM. So you get 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabyte of standard storage. I wish it was 256, but that's just wishful thinking on my part. So you do get the Apple A18 chip, which is based on a 3nm architecture. It's a really nice processor, a really good processor, and does support all of Apple's AI features that, to be honest with you, they're cool, they're there on your phone, but I didn't really find myself using it all that much. The writing tools is the main feature that I've used as far as the Apple Intelligence. Everything else I use from time to time, but it wasn't really such a priority, or it wasn't such a breakthrough feature that I found myself not being able to live without. You know what I mean? So with that being said, that's just my quick thoughts on the iPhone 16 4 months later. I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. So let me know what you think of it. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will definitely catch you guys in the next one.